This is the Page Publishing Book Club. But you knew that, didn't you? You know that as soon as you hear the music. You make that connection right away. This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Hear that bass line? Yeah. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. You knew that, too. And guess who my engineer is? Rob Barrett. Dancing on the other side of the glass. And you, my friend, are a member of the Page Publishing Book Club faithful. Yes, you are. How you doing? Feeling the urge to write, but just don't know what to focus on? That's why you're here with us at midnight. This stuff, it's keeping you up at night, right? Listen up. We have some great ideas for you. We really do. We have some authors coming up tonight that will inspire you. Karen Gustafson. She's a teacher of history, economics, and psychology. She believes we're doing a great disservice to our children and to anyone who's not a student of history by not teaching and helping people to understand that discrimination has gone on throughout the ages. Not one group of people has come to the United States ever in the history of time who has not been discriminated against. And it can be overcome. Her book is entitled Unmindful Negligence. Karen, it seems like we've lost sight of this, haven't we?
I don't think we dwell on it enough in teaching in our schools, and I think we have failed to teach our young people of really our correct history of discrimination. Although we have had certainly a horrible past of discrimination that we can reconciliate with everyone within our culture, and we can move to a higher level of human understanding. I think it's very possible. Because I go back to our earliest recordings of human history. It's in Göbekli Tepe, which actually is on the border of Syria and Turkey. And that was when man morphed from their hunter-gatherer existence into the Neolithic Revolution, which totally changed society. And I think we can do the same on the human level of understanding that once we embrace one another, we can move to a much higher level of productivity and a living amongst us all.
But this has to come from the top.
I think it has to come from all levels. I think certainly the top has to talk to us about it. They have to institute policies.
Is history even required in school anymore? I mean, we're so focused on math and science.
I know.
I think we've lost our perspective on history, and we've lost our perspective on how every group that has ever come to America has been discriminated against and has somehow been risen above it, proven themselves, and come to be a part of our society. And why can't that continue?
That's right. And you're absolutely correct. And many educators feel the same way. We've come to the point with our educational system where we have a definite imbalance. The concentration is on math and science, and it isn't on any other subjects. And history is taught. Civics is actually mandated half a year in the junior and senior high. And in my book, I recommend we go to a year, and I recommend that we actually because we don't bus people anymore, but a lot of people don't realize we are a very segregated school society. So within our states, and I'm in a little state of Rhode Island, so what I recommend is we actually have real-time classroom instruction where students can, through real time, through our technology, they can reach out to other people across their state, can be many hundreds of miles away, or within their state to other segments in the population where they don't get to see the mixture in our society. And this will help in instructing them to work through our issues through the Constitution. People don't understand the Constitution, our preamble, our Bill of Rights, and I think it would help develop a cohesive society, because we need to start in school doing this. Many people don't even know there are three branches to government, and that's a very sad commentary for our country.
How are you getting the word out about this book?
I have had a wonderful interview with our local newspaper, and on the first page, and it extended well into another page. I have books, literally books on shelves at the Brown University bookstore and another bookstore in Rhode Island as well. And as far as I know, they're selling. And And of course, word of mouth. Because I teach 3 days a week. I substitute teach. A lot of teachers are aware of this. They've told me they bought the book. I have no idea how well the book is selling, but I know people are telling me they bought it and they really have enjoyed the book. And I mean, it's many challenges I present in my book to our country.
All right. I hope we're up to the challenge and we can bring some sanity back to our society on so many levels, not just this one. Scott Brubaker works for a company that sells magnet wire. Not a bad job, but Scott craved a creative outlet, and he found one in writing. The name of his book is called Killer Spy Chick, and I'm curious, Scott, what inspired that storyline?
Well, the story really was inspired. I was watching television one day, and they were interviewing the neighbors of the guy in Oklahoma, the serial killer in Oklahoma, the BTK killer, and they all basically had the same response, which was, we never knew, we didn't know, he was kind of he wasn't a very nice guy, but we never knew he was a serial killer, and it just kind of struck me as much as you think you know the people around you, when the door's closed, you don't know what's going on over there. They could be anything. They could be a spy.
You created the Killer Spy Chick.
Yeah, she is a CIA operative who worked overseas for a number of years and then came back to the States. Because it's nice to have weekends off and not get shot at all the time. So she came back to the States and she moved into a house, and her neighbor was the other main character in the story, Max, who's just a guy, who works, and he's got a single father, he's got a daughter, and then, they're neighbors. And then through a set of circumstances, their paths cross as Jane as a spy and Max is a guy whose daughter's been kidnapped because he stumbled across this thing, by, just sheer luck. And wackiness ensues.
Is she a female James Bond?
She's kind of a cross between Sydney Bristow and Emily Prentice. That's kind of how I see her.
Okay.
She's kind of she's a killer and a spy, but kind of a girly girl at the same time.
Very interesting. Is she based on anybody you know?
She is actually based on a friend of mine, sort of, kind of, in my head, you visualize first, and I see it, and I have this friend of mine who she's kind of loosely based on. Not really, who's not a spy. I think she manages a jewelry store, but so physically, yes, but again, not a spy.
Well, as you said in the beginning, you never know, Scott.
You never know.
That's right.
That's true. You never know.
That's right. Are there a series of novels about the Killer Spy Chick?
That's kind of my plan. Is there will be a Killer Spy Chick 2. The world on the brink of destruction. Who better to save it than Jane Prawl, Killer Spy Chick? So there's another one in the works there. Everybody who I've talked to about it seems to like it. The biggest response I got back was, especially because for people that I know, was that they could hear me right next to them, talking and being the narrator of the thing, which was good because really the only advice I took on how to write a book was write it as if you were telling it. So that's what I did.
And that's really good advice, Scott. And as far as I'm concerned, there's always room for an interesting, fearless, intelligent woman who might be able to give James Bond a run for his money, right? Can't have too many of those. So, real quick, I got to share this with you. Obviously, at midnight, our interviews are not live, but they are taped live. Paige sets them up. I call, we talk, I tape. Sometimes nobody picks up the phone, and I call and I call. Nobody picks up the phone. Well, one day last week, a woman named Wanda called me from Western Kentucky. She was very upset. She said, we've been sitting here all day waiting for that phone call. My friend Jackie, he's very upset. He wants to do the interview. And I was like, listen, I'm calling. I don't know what's up, but hey, we're on the phone now. So let's do it. So we finally hook up. And this guy is such a character. And he should absolutely convince you that if you think it's too late to start writing, you're out of your mind. It's really never too late. Check out his title, The Gift of the Spheres, The Amulet and the Apparition. Jackie, you're kind of a sci-fi nut, right?
Oh, I love science fiction. I watch science fiction movies all the time. Star Wars and Harry Potter and the Chronicles of Narnia. It's about a young boy and a young girl, and they're wandering around in the woods, and they run across two little round objects that are glowing about the size of a big marble. They pick them up, and their bodies absorb them, and it turns them into superheroes. And then there's a guy that comes from another planet. Someone tries to take them to the planet. They don't want to go. but they wind up going anyway. And he helps them all the way through the book. There's a guy that he wants to take over and rule the whole universe. So the guy that on this other planet comes and visits him, takes him up there and tells him all about him, and tells him that they need their help now that they absorbed the power of the spheres. So they want to, the young boy and the young girl are the only two that will be able to fight off this evil guy who wants to rule the universe. I always wanted to write. I used to, whenever I was a young boy, I used to sit around and tell the young boys and girls stories.
Uh-huh.
I'd make them up, and they'd sit there for hours at a time listening to me. That really is what inspired me. I could just make up any kind of a story and tell them, and they'd sit there with their eyes bugged out and just listen to me and never say a word.
All right, so you're a storyteller from way back.
From way back. All of a sudden, I thought, well, I'd love to write a book. I've always wanted to. I think I'll just give it a try.
How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 84 years old.
Good for you. 84 years old. Good for you. Did you have any help?
Yeah, Page Publishing has been wonderful. They've been helping me a great deal.
What is it that you want people to learn from this book or to take away? Is there a moral or a lesson to be learned?
Well, yeah. Don't try to be no evil character because you can't get away with it. All the good always conquers over evil.
That is so true, no matter what. Are you going to write any more books?
I've already written 6 more.
6 more? That's awesome.
I haven't had them published yet.
All right.
Greatest help I've had is my girlfriend here, the Wanda, the lady you were talking to earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about a computer. She's the one typed up everything, and she's been the biggest help. If it hadn't been for her, I couldn't have had it published.
So that's awesome. So she's helping you write, and you just talk, and she just taps away on the computer.
Pardon me. I write the books, and she writes. She takes the books and then types it off of the book onto the computer.
Freehand? You write it down like on a piece of paper?
I write the whole.
That's ambitious. Are you going to have a book signing? Set up a little party? Have some friends over?
I've already had one. Having 2 or 3 more.
Where did you have your book signing?
I had it at the library up here at Greenville,
And
right here in town.
how'd it go?
I did fairly well. I sold 8 or 10 books.
That's great. Did you read from your book?
No, I explained to them what was going on in there, inside the book, and they said, "Oh, that sounds good. I think I'll have one."
All right, Jackie. Well, I look forward to talking to you about your next 6 books. Oh, you hear that? You know what that means. Time for a quick break. Get to go to the lavatory very quickly. Coming up, taking control of your dreams and a book called The F's to God, and it's not what you're thinking. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything. Copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
Welcome back to the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Rob's my engineer, and you are my faithful listener. Isn't it nice to be here all together? Kind of cozy. Feels like a family, right? You know, when you think about poetry, you might think of it, right, as a way of weaving words together. Well, Mary Klaus took her poetry, put it together, and called her book Weavings, A Tapestry in Words. Interesting title. Mary, is your poetry about anything in particular?
It's actually about several different kinds of things. I knew that I wanted it to be divided into sections, and so I have done that. And I have nature poems. I have poems called Mapping Memories, and a section called Mapping Memories that are very personal about different things growing up and my parents and just different memories. I have haiku and other shorts. I have some surrealism poetry and some poems in a section that I call Digging Deep, which are about a variety of different things. Poetry, as you know, is in other types of writing as well, can be very cathartic and help one get through things as we all go through in different life situations. And so I just had a lot of different things that I write about and decided to put them all in a book.
Any particular thing happened to make you decide to do it now?
Well, I don't think any one thing particularly. I knew that eventually I wanted to do a book. And actually, the winter before last in Michigan here, we had a very long winter, kind of a rough winter, and we could not get out a lot. The roads were icy, and I was working on some poetry, and I thought this winter might be a good time to really dig deep and get in there and tweak some of my older poems and write some new things and really dig in deep and try to organize them in a orderly fashion and put them into a book form.
Has anybody ever read your poetry before now?
Yes. Actually, I belong to a poetry group called River Junction Poets. And so, yes, people have read my poems. I have had some poems individually published in different publications, and we have given different poetry performances and showcased our poems in different places. So yes, people have read my poetry and have also listened to me recite my poetry before in different places.
That's great. I was talking to somebody, another poet, and I was talking about open mic nights and, getting up and reading your own stuff and how moving that can be to hear a poet, read their own writing.
Right. We've had situations where they weren't exactly open mic nights, but we've had actual poetry performances where we have a theme and do a big poetry performance every year in the spring, and I've read at different events. And poetry is something not just to be enjoyed reading it in the comforts of your own home, but I really truly believe that poetry is meant to be recited aloud. Absolutely meant to be enjoyed that way. And like you say, there's nothing better than hearing an author or a poet read aloud, I believe.
It's like a song.
Yes, like a song, absolutely.
Yep, like a song. And what better way to get the word out about your poetry than to stand up and read it yourself, right? Alyssa Ridenour is a dreamer. Not only does she remember her dreams, she's learned how to control them. And she thought that'd be a great skill to teach little ones. She even did her own illustrations for her book. It's called Dream Dashers. And Alyssa, big dreamer, right?
Yes, and basically, like any stress I would have during the day, like it would manifest itself in the dream, and I would have all kinds of just crazy, wild dreams. And so I figured I'd write about it, and I was able, through time, even when I was little and growing up, I was able to control the dreams and turn them from, being kind of wild and crazy and maybe negative to something more positive and something more happy and not such a big, scary dream or nightmare.
It's amazing that you can remember dreams. Most people can't even remember their dreams.
I remember all of them as if they were my own memory.
Well, what's the story about?
Dream Dashers is about two kids and their dog. It's Daisy, Tommy, and Froggy is the dog. And all day long, they play around and have little adventures that kids do. And like most kids, they have big imaginations. And so one day they decide to meet up in their dreams because they love playing together so much that, hey, why not continue playing in their dreams together? So they meet up in their dreams and continue their adventures. And they run into some really crazy and wild things, but they learn not to be afraid of them. They learn that they can change their dreams and transform them into something more happy and less scary. And they can make it anything they want. They could explore anything that they wanted to in their dreams.
So the three of them all dream together at the same time.
Yes. Wouldn't that be amazing if you could, you love spending time with your friends all day long. It's like, why does that happen? And why can't you, when you go to bed at night, why can't you keep playing with your friends all night long? It's mainly for children when they're going to bed, and they're a little nervous because I myself, when I was little, I was, nervous about going to sleep because I would have all of these wild dreams and my imagination was a little overwhelming. But if parents could read this to their children, then maybe it would calm them down and help the child realize that dreams are just entertainment. But it's nothing to be scared of at night. It's nothing to be intimidated by. Once they go to sleep, if they, see a crazy nightmare coming, they can concentrate real hard and transform their dream, change it into something really happy and delightful. I think this would help children fall asleep easier at night and not be so intimidated by the dark, and going to bed and going to sleep and making it a more easy transition for them because a lot of kids fight their sleep also. And, and so also it rhymes, the words rhyme, and so I thought it'd be helpful to help the child maybe sing it like a song and they can memorize it better. And I thought it would just be appealing that way. Kids talk with each other, and I remember talking with my friends and talking about our dreams and how crazy they are. And sometimes they'd be really fun, and then sometimes you'd have the really scary dreams, or maybe you have dreams about forgetting your homework at school or the teacher yelling at you. Just, little silly things that they come out in your dreams, but again, you don't have to be scared of it. You can make it your own.
Okay, so dash away those bad dreams and turn them into whatever you want them to be. Wouldn't that be? I would love that. I think I'm going to try that. Just make my dreams whatever I want them to be. I'll be whoever I want. Catherine Brandt works at a missile defense plant in Arizona. She says people don't like to talk about God much where she works, so she's keeping her writing on the down low, but she's here to tell us now about the F's to God. The F's to God. The F's to God. What does that mean?
Well, there's a lot of words that start with F, and when you pick up this book, you kind of think twice about it because, it's the F to God. And unfortunately, in this time on this planet, there's a lot of people thinking more about sex and drugs and addiction that when they see the F, it's kind of like a double take. So that was the meaning for the F. I talk about faith and fighting to keep your faith, forgiveness, freedom, fun, and feeling fantastic. So the F's are more, it's kind of a pun, so that, when a teenager looks at this book, they're intrigued. It doesn't come out and say, this is about faith in God. Because how many times do you see on the bookshelves, how to strengthen your faith, and forgiveness is the way. And a lot of those books don't get picked up because it's kind of intimidating if you don't have a strong faith structure and you don't know how to go about doing it.
Are you targeting teenagers with this book?
No, it's everyone. I mean, even when I tell adults about the title, they do a double take, and they laugh afterwards. They're like, "Wow!" You always think of when you see the letter F by itself, it means what everyone thinks it means.
It means the F word,
and it's not. There's a lot of words that start with F. And I actually got channeled the title, at which heaven and the archangels, they're pretty funny people. entities, spiritual beings. They have a sense of humor. And so when they said, just use the S to God, I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, people, will pick it up.
Who told you this?
My guide.
Your spiritual guide.
Yes.
So obviously you saw a need for this book.
Yes, very much so. I've noticed the lack of faith in the world and God. There's bits and pieces of faith, however, not that strong. And when I work on, I'm a Reiki master, and when I work on my clients, they have always asked me, how did you get your faith so strong? And why do you not doubt? And that's what this book is about, is my journey on how I got to be in complete faith and having a lot of fun and feeling good and feeling fantastic, So, but it's a fight to keep it going and keep the faith going and to really want to keep, being at peace with oneself is a lot of work. And a lot of people want to take a pill. They want, to go to church for that hour. But then once they leave, they feel as when they went. So this book is kind of find your own truth and find your own faith in God and make it stronger. And I have techniques on how to make it stronger in the book.
Do you belong to a church or anything?
So, no, I have never belonged to a church because I don't believe in the politics of church.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I certainly get that. The politics of religion can be enough to drive even the most faithful away. I can say I have some personal experience with that. And certainly, as you said, Catherine, the F's to God is bound to get some attention on the bookshelves. Well, what can I tell you? That's all the F, as in fun, that we have for tonight, Rob. Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope we've given you some ideas, some hope, some inspiration. And there is more. I mean, so much more where this came from. We'll be back next week, and I hope you come back too for another edition of the Page Publishing Book Club right here on 710 WOR.